Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I am a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, Overview of a Microsoft Project, presented by our expert instructor, Mary Ellis. We will be using Zoom for today's session, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the webinar. We do encourage participation throughout the webinar, so please use that chat or that Q&A option for our short Q&A portion after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. And now, without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Mary.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you, those of you who are watching this real time. Again, please use the chat if you have any questions. Project. It's a software tool. It helps us track, analyze, create reports so that hopefully we can make better data-driven decisions. Yes, project has been around, I should say, a very long time. So the slide is telling you about DOS 1984. So it's one of Microsoft's longest running software programs. No, I will not be demonstrating in DOS. Just wanted to let you know that it has greatly improved. And yeah, the interface in the beginning, it's a lot like Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint with the ribbons, but it does so much more. It has pre-built views, such as the Gantt chart. Gantt chart developed by Henry Gantt back in 1911. All right, don't quote me on the actual year, but the idea of managing projects has been around a very long time. 1860s, building the interconnected railroad, intercontinental railroad. Gentleman by Mr. Taylor was involved in trying to figure out the labor and the material. And his assistant, Henry Gantt, in the we'll say World War I kind of era, said, wow, there's got to be a way to visualize what are all the tasks that need to be happening. And that's where our Gantt chart came into play. Clearly, Microsoft in 1984 built it in DOS. My job right now is to show you how to interact with the software program. So here's a list of bullets of what I will be covering. But before we can turn on Microsoft Project and start utilizing the keyboard, we need to know what's the need for your project. And if you're anyone who has been studying the PMI, Project Management Institute, PMBOK, Project Management Book of Knowledge, or you've been researching about Six Sigma, we know that every project starts with the initiation phase. Business decisions are ironed out. Why are we going to invest this capital, money, time, resources? Who will actually be the sponsor responsible for saying yes or no when decisions need to be made? Once all of that information is ironed out, then we can open up the application. And we could use one of Microsoft's existing templates or start with their blank. And I will be starting with the blank. And so for those of you who have built Microsoft project files before, I hope you took step number one, which was go research all the documentation, the charter, the scope, the RFP. And then once you turn on the application, you set the project calendar. So that's really will be the step one that I take right now. Project, the Gantt chart. Project is really a database. And so the slide I'm showing you right now, this needs to be a decision that I make as soon as I turn on the project plan. Do I want Microsoft Project to schedule the start and end dates for me based on the durations that I give? Or do I want to use Project more like an Excel file where I manually type everything in? This tool, this feature was introduced in Project 2016. It is still here. I'll let you know the project can connect to your SharePoint list. So if internally you have a Microsoft 365 account, someone has set up a Microsoft Teams and said, let's put a list together of all the tasks we're going to work on. we could have project bring in that list, in which case I would want to leave it manually scheduled because our team members in Teams or a SharePoint list or Microsoft Planner will be doing all the data entry. And then project can produce the Gantt chart, help us with tracking the cost. My demonstration this morning will be auto schedule. So let me escape out of the slide deck, start using project since that is our focus of the seminar and overview. Microsoft Project, I'm using the license, which is Project Online. I'll have a few buttons that help me connecting to SharePoint. Starting with the blank project and making that decision right away. How do I want my schedule to be built? So bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I'm moving into that status bar, new manual, new task manually scheduled, and I'm going to switch that over to auto schedule. I'll explain a little bit later how you can have certain tasks still be set to manually scheduled. Top of the window. According to my slide, step number 1 should have been setting up the project information, setting up the working time. How many hours a week do we actually work? When this project is running, are we working Monday through Friday, 8 to 5? And if the answer is yes, then my project information, leaving the calendar as standard, is perfect. If you're in a manufacturing shop, maybe you are on a 24-hour clock and you're running multiple shifts. One of the first things we should be doing is making sure our project information knows how will our schedule be managed. Right now, I'm going to go with standard. I'll set this project to begin next Tuesday, March 5th, and the OK button. That was the ribbon called project to get the project information. You'll notice the Gantt, there's now a dotted line. It's very pale coming out of Tuesday morning. There's a green line Thursday morning. That is today's date. And my project will start on Tuesday. Change working time, reopening that dialog box. I had chosen the options earlier to show you my work week starts on Sunday. That is what is determining why it says March 17th on the Gantt, the time scale. You begin on Monday, your work week, switch it to Monday. If your day doesn't start at 8, but 9, take a moment and go, wait a minute. The majority of my staff, my colleagues, peers, what do we say is their start day? Here, Educate 360, United Training, 8 to 5, that is perfect. If I'm working with a hospital in the Boston area, then I would change this to say 7.5, 37 and a half, and I would end it at 4:30. So that way Microsoft knows what is the definition of a workday. Leaving everything but the week starts on, just so you can see the edit happen. The change working time calendar, Monday is now on the left, white and available. Saturday and Sunday are grayed out. Now, if we are going to give people company holidays, that also should be noted. Best practice. I would scroll back to January, find January 1st, and put in the New Year's. And then chat with your HR department. What are all the company holidays where 80% or more stop working? Since I have set this to start on March 5th, I'm going to say that Monday the 18th is not a federal holiday. This will be our holiday, just to prove a point. You select the day, type the label, and then that way it notes it. Choose the OK time at the bottom for our change working time. So project information, know what your calendar is, change working time, put in all of your non-working days. It'll make your life easier when you go to build the schedule out. An exception on the calendar, Monday the 18th. Left-hand side, the legend, right? Just so we recognize that. Once you know what your project will be about, start doing the typing. Looking quickly. Does project and teams work well? I'm holding off on that quick answer of work well. I can most certainly take my project plan and save it right now, coming off of that question, save as. Could I save the file to a specific SharePoint site that people could see and work with by opening the project plan out of the Teams channel? Yeah. So yes, I could use it as a storage. But if we really want it to be that they are synced to the SharePoint site that is part of Teams, then I may want to do more of that syncing piece. Let me do a save right now. I'll put this on my PC, desktop. And thank you for watching me save the file. MPP, Microsoft Project Plan. For lack of a better name, let's just call that demo. Thank you for asking the question. I appreciate that. So if we really want to fully engage the Microsoft 365, Microsoft is going to be converting the name of Project Online, to be called Planner. And you'd really want to investigate, Sandra, the Planner tool that's already available in Teams. Right now, my colleagues might be going, Mary, come back to the focus of overview of project. But to answer that question, Planner. Do research, Sandra, on Planner. So locally stored project plan, where I am the only project manager, then I would start keying in, what is my project about? Thank you for the thumbs up. I'd love a vacation home somewhere, and it's going to be a cabin. I'm typing some stuff in. Foundation. When building a plan and someone has a list of tasks, our task should be an action. What's our verb and what's our noun? I am not building a house correctly. I am simply typing words where you can see dig hole. What's the action? What's the noun? Set form. It should be a task name that is descriptive enough that people know what's going on, not just a word. Data entry. Now, as I'm doing the data entry, like an Excel worksheet, working my way down, because I set this to auto schedule, how project is going to manage the plan, auto schedule, it's automatically setting it all as one day, beginning March 5th. I'm hovering my mouse just so you know. You hover, you can let Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all of Microsoft's programs. If you hover on top of the command, it'll give you an opportunity to read about it. Hover to discover. A little more data entry, and then I will switch to a different file, mechanical. So when you're entering your lists of tasks, they should be coming out of the paperwork, the research that's already been done. It should be a sequential list. The task will automatically get a unique ID. That is not a row number, but an identifier for the task. I'll have an indicator column. Right now, I'm going to double click that row number 2, task number 2, just to show you there's additional information. Notes, 64,000 characters. If someone had emailed me unique issues with this digging of the hole, I could copy and paste the body of the email right here because it's all about getting the information right at your fingertips. You're in a meeting, someone asks a question, you could say, I have a note on that. There'll be a little yellow post-it. Indicator column. Task mode column, yeah, because I like it being in the task mode of automatic, I'm going to hide that for right now, just to show you, if you're familiar with those other applications, right click, get a contextual menu. Project does not save as you work. So if you're happy with what you're working on, save it as you go. When you save, you do not have an undo. So I just wanted to point out, similarities between the Office applications and where this one is different. The Gantt chart has been drawing out small blue detailed tasks or subtasks. I don't officially have any subtasks until I take the time to set the hierarchy, outline the project plan. The foundation. How do I know the foundation will be complete? Well, when I dig the hole, set the form, strip the form. Yes, I have forgotten some tasks. But I want you to notice foundation is now bold. Bold, black. That is called a summary task. We set up summary tasks for two reasons. Reason number one, in my opinion, you can control the flow of information. Has a nice little collapse, expand. Everything we're looking at, we could print. So I could print and just let them know how long the foundation phase. Some people will call these phases, depending on what's their background, prior project management vocabulary methodology. Or they'll call it a summary, because that's what project calls this, Microsoft. That's a summary, and these are subtasks. Mechanical, it's not part of the foundation, it's just a regular working task. Yes, I am not following my best practice. I only wrote one word, select. And if you're saying, where did Mary indent? How did that word become bold? It's on the home, oh gosh, the task tab, the first tab, the schedule group, indent. It'll change the appearance, indent text. And yes, based on what we set as the duration for a task, the summary will auto-calculate. It's not summing up and adding that to 8. It is the longest duration of the details. So I know I'm working quickly, want to get you comfortable at what tools will you quickly need on the schedule when building it out. We're going to learn how to type, well, know how to type, come back and say, where are my titles that I want to designate as summaries? And if you make a mistake, we know we have the undo button. Step number 2. I'm going to bring back up. So we have a Gantt. It's being built because we're entering information into the task sheet. Add your task. Outline the task, which means create your work breakdown structure and make sure you're linking your task. Make sure you're linking your task, setting up the task dependencies. So I can't set the form until after I dig the hole. And I forgot to pour the concrete. So before I go and talk about dependencies, let me just make sure we know how to insert anything that's missing. Yeah, I'm right-clicking on the number 4. I forgot a task. Insert task. One day question mark. Whenever you add a task, one day question mark is to remind you You didn't set that to 1 day. As soon as you enter a value, the question mark is removed. If you're wondering about that question mark, pour concrete, I'm not quite sure it's going to take me 3 days. I'm going to double click the task. It's leaving me at notes because that's the last tab I was looking at. It originally opened up to general. You will always see the name, the duration, and the option to set it back to estimated. So you could communicate with your peers who are opening the files with you and say, hey, if there's a question mark on it, we're still discussing with the subject matter expert, with the manager, with the resource, whether that's really going to be 3 days. But as soon as someone types, the question mark is gone. So I just told you about the task sheet, doing data entry. Build your plan first, meaning discuss with your peers, what's the project objective, what's the purpose, what's the breakdown of tasks that we need to get done. Your job from that is to then type that information into the project plan, your best estimates, outline the plan, and link the task. So I just highlighted those 4 tasks. I know I entered them sequentially, and I want everybody else to know task 2 will take 5 days. The form will take 1, pour concrete takes 1, strip form will take 2, and now the overall duration is 9 days for the foundation. We want to create summaries that describe or tells our end user, this is what we're going to achieve. Here's the steps to do it. And now, if we truly begin on the 5th, then right now, the 15th is when we will be done stripping the form. No formulas. I haven't had to write any formulas. That's the whole advantage of using Project instead of Microsoft Excel. I'll go back. Yeah, dig in the hole. Someone might review it and go, Mary, I think we overestimated. Could you knock that down to 3 days? There is blue showing up to let me know how that one edit has impacted the rest of the plan, the rest of the schedule. So I have a different plan. The text was already written in. It's set to manually, new tasks are manually, but when I had built this plan, it was set to auto. The plan is back in 2020. So I'm going to go project information. That's where we can go ahead and change the project start date. I'll put that one on the 5th as well. I'll check the change working time. They don't have any holidays. And again, I will jump into the 18th and say closed. Just a quick little review. On the Gantt, the 18th is now grayed out. And I only have one phase. One phase, really one summary. So working my way through, I'd select the task, be on the home ribbon, do that, set the work breakdown structure. Checking our time. The next step would be, great. How are these interacted with one another? What's their dependency? Create an outline, present it to the publisher. While presenting to the publisher, I want to revise the outline while presenting to the publisher. I think we can do these at the same time. I'll be double clicking number 10 so that the predecessor isn't a finish to start, but a finish to finish. When your project is going over and someone says, is there anything we can do to shorten it up? You could go back and look at some of the relationships that you have established and see if we can run them simultaneously. I had double clicked on number 10, looked at the predecessor to determine what would be the type of dependency. When you use the chain link, it is a finish to start, 100% done, the next one starts. Not what you want, make the adjustment. Relationships, dependencies. It is a field called predecessor. Now, I've only showed you this one view. I'm going to jump up to the view ribbon. I mentioned that project is a database. There's a table that tells us all about our task, and we see that table when we're looking at the Gantt chart. There's a second table that's all about our resources. My name's Mary. Sandra was asking me some questions. Thank you so much. We're both workers. We will both use the same base calendar. So that means we both get the 18th off. And we'd like to be paid. And right now, yes, I'm only typing the number 10. What you set as the standard hourly rate for your resource, this might be the median pay, not the actual pay of the person, could be the average. Talk to your HR department. Could also be equipment. Equipment. Right now, I'm just going to type paper, material. Maybe we will be looking to print, and we will charge $1 a page. Material. If the file was built-in Planner, which is SharePoint's portion of it, then whatever they are typing in Planner, yes, we can see here. And there is a field named Notes. There is a field called Notes. Now, I had used the notes earlier by double-clicking and going to the tab. You could display the notes. They could be writing the notes in the table view in SharePoint, and then those same notes could come here. They could be editing the start and the finish time, in which case here I wouldn't have the task mode be automatic because it would be SharePoint doing the typing. So Jane was asking a question, just wanted to clarify, can we make changes bringing in from SharePoint? If we had started the connection that way, most certainly. Where is that file coming from? When I was doing the save as, then we could get that connection. All right, I'll come back. You could also start in SharePoint and then ask it to open in project and make the connection. And then it's a two-way street. It'll push up your edits that you're making here or pull them down from SharePoint. Thank you for the questions. I'll hide that column right now. So the takeaway is we get to control how the tables, the Gantt table, this is called the entry table. I'd like to assign a resource. Remember, I went to the resource sheet in order to build it out. You could also pull resources in from your Outlook address book and then not have to type their names. Still have to fill in their standard rate, what's their base calendar. We're going to kick standard up to 25, and I'm going to go back to the view of the Gantt chart. Investigate the software. How do I assign a resource? Then resource, assign resource. Sandra, you're going to work on that task. Searching the web, Mary, you're going to work on that task. Interview the subject matter expert, Mary, Sandra, you're both going to work on that task. I opened a dialog box, resource. Right now there's red colors going on because those 3 tasks are happening on the same day. So therefore, we're both working too many hours. We're working 16 hours. You can assign resources whenever you want, and you can set up your dependencies. the linking that I was referring to. That's interchangeable. Now that I've said, oh, wait, they're going to do a day of this, a day of that, a day of this, all separate, we no longer see those red heads. Resource allocation view, resource usage. This view would let me know of my resources, how many hours are they dedicated to this project? What day are they working? And do I want to know what are they doing this month? Oh, they're only working 16 hours. Capacity planning. Thank you, Lizette. Perfect segue. Capacity planning. Does my resource have more availability? Well, in this month view, I have a lot. If I were to switch back to day view, searching the web, I got a button that'll help me go to it. I have no more hours on that day in March. I have no more hours on that day in March because I'm already working. So I went to the view resource usage. I thought about including remaining availability. That idea of capacity planning. What is the max amount of hours my resources can work? Resource sheet, 100%. That means they can work a full 8-hour day. Company a number of years ago did a little study. What is the max hours of day in a day? How many hours are we productive? And they've determined it's like 67% between meetings, breaks, lunch, phone calls. You might just say, you know what, I'm going to say 2 hours of your work day, you're not going to be working on my project. And the other 6 hours, you're dedicated to my project. So I put your max unit at 80. And so I'll go back to the Gantt and I will say, Lizette, you're going to create the outline. You're a resource. I want to assign you. There's 9, well, I'm exaggerating when I say 9, but it feels like 9 different ways that I could assign a resource to a task. When you assign resources to a task, you create the work. Any task that I don't have a resource assigned to, they're not working. And when I said 80% of a day, it's really 6.4 hours. Maybe I might knock you down to 75%. And then I know you'd never be working more than 6, instead of leaving all of my resources at 100. So project overview right now is to let you know there's a lot of built-in tables and views and calculations. It's a time saver. In the beginning, when you're building the plan, a lot of research needs to be done. Not on how to use the tool, but what are we collecting and bringing in here? And then that initial setting up the view. Getting our summaries, making sure the dependencies between tasks are accurate, which is why if we could enter them sequentially, then I hope to see a waterfall. That's what they call this view out on the Gantt chart, a waterfall. And because I'm using auto schedule, it's automatically updating the dates for me. I know I have gone over our time together. I get a little excited when I am sharing, and I wanted to make sure you understood those fundamentals of how important it is to know what type of calendar, what will your days and hours be. So then as you're entering durations, the software is going to make sure it understands, wow, if we say that's 12 working days, 12 working days, well, if Monday's off, Monday's off. That's going to have to be 12 working days. And I didn't have to go and look at a calendar. It did all the work for me. Kelly, I appreciate the feedback. There's 2 days of classes. If I can meet you again, if you can spend a whole day with me using the tool, I'd love to see you again. So we use the project tool because the views are built for us. The Gantt chart can show us immediately what's on the critical path. Critical path means if someone says this project has to finish sooner, then I'm going to look to Sandra and go, is there any way we can do that faster? And Sandra might go, yeah, no, Mary, you're kidding me. And I go, great, thank you. Do your work. I'll talk to upper management and let them know, nope, this is the timeline we're on. Oh, place for document rev changes. Steven, we could have a table. So you're like, I got documents, Mary, that we're going to have to be making revisions to. I almost feel like I would create a SharePoint library where the documents could live, and I'd have a column to let people know what revision we're at. If in the world of project you would like that, project does allow you, I wouldn't use notes. I mean, notes would be good, but project has Gantt chart fields. There's 30 text columns that do nothing but wait for you to give them a job. So I'm going to rename that. Doc revision. Okay. Okay. And now, instead of trying to stuff everything into that yellow Post-it note that's 64,000 characters, we can have a specific column. Rev. Wait, it was doc. There we go. Doc revisions. And then by making that column, you and I could do it as a code. We could say, hey, we're on Rev 2. And then someone could come back and say, let's filter for everything. Let's sort for everything that has that classification. So coming back to Stephen's question, right? Stephen, I very quickly said, yeah, I mean, instead of piggybacking on the notes, why don't we go build our own unique column? Get this database to be collecting what we need, besides creating the awesome Gantt chart, where the Gantt chart can show me why is my project taking this long in the color red, the critical task. I was on the View tab showing you the tables. What is this costing us? Well, the cost is there, and I forgot something very important. I'm going to finish in the next minute. Project summary task. Project summary task. I'm on the Gantt, project summary task. That's now a running total of the whole project. And if I change the view of the table to be the entry table again, what's the overall number of days for the whole project? And this project's called outline_WBS because that's the name of the file at the top. Project summary gives us our highest level, task 0. I see some messages coming in. Some of you had a hard stop. You're getting a copy of this. This being Mary, who's very passionate about the program. And the views that are pre-built. There's 31 different views that are already built for us. Might take a little while. And once you assign a resource, I could go to reports, this is the best part, and go, what's this costing? And instead of showing it in the Gantt, we could show them a gorgeous picture. All right, you might not think it's gorgeous, but old project, I've been using this since project 4. I had to export my data to Excel and then manipulate Excel to make charts. When they came up with that report tab, I was like, oh, that's sweet. Resources. Hey, who's over allocated? I don't have anyone right now, but that capacity, how many hours are they over allocated? Report, dashboard. This is project overview. And a milestone. A milestone is a diamond out on the Gantt because you make that a zero duration. Beautiful. A zero duration is a milestone. And you should pepper through your file and get those, yeah, it's complete. Give them a milestone so they know what day will that be complete on. And also so that we can run a report, because some people just, not some, but certain managers, you want to give them the right level of information. That's why we invest the time and energy in the get the task sheet written in correctly. Oh my gosh, I didn't do everything right. Well, I haven't completed it. Oh, I didn't tell it had a relationship to that. We won't know until 5 is done. And when 5 is done, then we'll be able to do the next step. And my dates are updating. And my Gantt's being built. And if you like seeing the Gantt, see the Gantt. You don't, make sure your data is accurate. Reports will only be as good as the information we put into the tables. 2 main tables. Relationship between the tables is once we assign the resource. The views of the table, you decide which one makes the most sense. Looking through the chat just to see if there was anything that I could kind of quickly answer. Add the task, outline the task, link the task, add resources. And then so that you know how well is my project doing once we get to that stage of we got to track. You don't track until after you set a baseline. And a baseline creates a picture of what you promised everyone you would do. Project, set, baseline. The day your project starts, so this would be March 5th for me, I would turn on the baseline. And that would have captured everything I told everybody we would be doing. And then if we don't do it on those days, I'm going to have notes as to what happened. Maybe we come in early. Maybe we come in late, but I won't know that. Sorry for that extra box. If I don't set a baseline. And I don't have to show it. Keep that information private. Again, show the view that helps you explain your issues. I will now say that I need to get ready for my next class as well. I thank you. I know we're over. So I appreciate you spending your time. I'll come back over to the slide deck. Setting the baseline. Then you start tracking. If we are connecting to SharePoint, we do a manually scheduled, so that way SharePoint is where our dates are living, and we use the project plan to be able to see the different views, monitor the cost. We set up our tasks, we organize them, and then we utilize that relationship, the dependencies, and constantly we are chatting with our peers, constantly. I don't have to have it as a weekly meeting, but make sure we're double checking. Are we on schedule? How's it going? What do we need to change? And then document those changes in the plan. The slide deck is yours to keep. Watch the recording again. And yes, I'm speed scrolling. Hope I didn't make you too dizzy. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at Educate 360. I will keep my file. I
Alrighty.
agree, Rich.
Yeah,
Well, the whole
yeah.
day, if I
A
could.
whole day. Yeah, absolutely. So much to talk about, so much to go over. Thank you all so much for your engaging combo and your great questions and chat. Again, if you need any more info on this session, please do not be afraid to visit us at newhorizons.com. And if you did miss out on any part of the session, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. So be on the lookout for that to go check back some really amazing tips from Mary. Alrighty. Thanks, everyone. And thank you so much, Mary.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.